Greetings, friends. Getting a phone in Canada is pathetic. They cost so much money. Maybe they cost really expensive sums in other so called Western countries or European countries. I don't know. But when I was in some countries that were outside the Western world, that you might call poor countries or materially, in terms of the average person, less wealthy countries, but their phones were way cheaper, more effective to access. You didn't have to sign up for these plans where they rope you into paying like a subscription service like every month. And the phones themselves, I don't know, for the local person in these more poor countries, would it be expensive for them? Maybe, I don't know, but I feel like relatively it's still cheaper for them because the phone technology is all over the place. Vodafone, Airtel, MTN, Tigo, all these companies providing credit that you can buy by the roadside, pay as you go. Now, you can maybe find these things in Canada, but it's like the average person, they have to search a little bit for it. And I've been with Kudo Mobile and I pay $56 a month or 54 or 52, something like that. Unlimited calls, unlimited texting, some amount of data. If I go over the limit, then they might charge me a little bit. And I thought this was cheap relatively for Canada, but no, you can get much cheaper in Canada. We have to know about it. Like prepaid. My friend was telling me prepaid, he pays $28 a month and you can get internet, all the basic stuff you need for your phone with a $90 phone. Now that's the thing. The prices in Canada, I don't know relatively, but people more knowledgeable about this, I was asking, and they were saying, well, minimum $200, $300 for a basic phone. And I was thinking, what? How is that possible? I mean, I haven't bought a phone in 4 years at least. I think it's been longer. It might be 5 years. Maybe it's even been 6 years since I got a new phone. I don't know. I don't remember exactly. So, but like minimum 4.5, 5 years, I've had this LG Android phone, and because I use things until they break. That was why I had to get a new phone. And but of that old phone, I kept using it and using it. And what eventually did the phone end? You might, because three things I'll tell you. The screen. Well, I'm telling you in a way that this is not the cause, but I'm saying consider three factors if you were observing this phone. Number one, like a splintered screen, like I dropped it a year or so ago, and the screen like was really badly shattered, but it continued to function. Like little bits of glass fell out, but nothing. Like I taped the very bottom of it, but the rest of it just stayed the same. I continued to use it, and it didn't actually do in the phone. Then secondly, like exhaustive memory, like memory getting completely exhausted. It doesn't matter what you delete, it always says like 97, 98% full. So I was like at the point of like deleting text messages and just any data I could, and it's like that's barely freeing up any space. So that was going to do it in pretty soon, but theoretically I could keep using the phone for a number of months or even up to a year longer. That wasn't what did it in, and it was the battery. The battery finally made me decide that I have to get a new phone, because the battery was like, it was at the point where I'd be plugging the phone in to charge it and the phone is losing power. And I've heard that if you really mess around with phones, they can even start fires and explode. So that's something to keep in mind if the battery is really getting old. Now, I've since been able to charge the phone up again, but it's very unpredictable when you can actually charge it, so that becomes a bit of a problem. Now, theoretically, I can use the phone as a backup still, because you can switch the SIM card back in. But that's the other thing, like the using the SIM card is much more simple in a country like Ghana, or probably other African countries, maybe India. You switch a SIM card in so seamlessly. Here you can do it too, but it's not quite as straightforward. The average person might not do it naturally. It's like, oh, get the phone. Like anyone, you can probably do it if you're knowledgeable, but that SIM card, it has your number on it, but roping you in with these plans, ridiculous prices for phones. Like, who wants to pay $200 for a phone? Are you kidding me? And then some of these people are paying way more than that. Like, what on earth? For a fraction of that, you could get a decent phone in many so-called poor countries. A decent phone with internet and WhatsApp, and because what do you really need a phone for? For me, just calls, texts, WhatsApp. I know you said WhatsApp. They steal they spy on you, and they're not to be trusted. But fine, my point is some app where you can communicate on the internet, and then even cut out really a lot of the money you'd be spending on calls anyways, because you're just using the internet now. What if you pay for internet or not? But like here I live, the landlord, they provide free Wi-Fi, so I can use the Wi-Fi and then communicate with someone outside of the continent in a different part of the world, using the internet, and so I'm not paying anything for that, and the quality is just as good as regular phone line. So I don't mean landline. No one uses a land. Well, some people still use a landline, but I mean regular mobile line, like using Skype or WhatsApp or something. A lot of the time the quality is just as good, if not better. So that's all you really need. Using the internet on the phone is another thing I would say I do use it for, but it's not essential. Like searching on a map if I'm out, that's very useful. Using Google Maps if I'm trying to find something in the city, that is useful because you're in a situation where you don't have access to your normal. Well, for me, the PC, that's what I use. So beyond that, maybe listening to podcasts or videos when I'm at break on work, or doing some activity where I otherwise don't have access to the computer. But it is good to just sometimes be unplugged anyway, so you can get a little carried away with that, like just constantly consuming content because you have a phone. I mean, maybe practice some moderation with that. So these internet companies, a lot of that nullify. I mean, these internet applications for communication, that nullifies a lot of what the phone companies were originally about, and so they're kind of like these inefficient dinosaurs, especially in a country like Canada. It's very pathetic. But a lot of it is like our willingness, and the younger generation's willingness to spend so much money for these devices. And I can't imagine why you would want to get a phone more often than once. Like if you're getting it like a new phone every year, that's way too frequent. Like you should get a phone and use it until it dies on you. And these things will last years. And I still use my old phones. Maybe I should have brought them for this video. It doesn't really matter, but I still use my old phones that still function like as timepieces or whatever. You can use the calculator on them. You can use the calendar phone. If it's just good to have as a backup thing. If like a backup watch, which is like I use it at work, and people tell me like, oh, they're nostalgic when they see that HTC phone, and for me, it's like I couldn't care less. Like you're nostalgic for this thing. It's just It's just a piece of plastic, and it's I mean, it is remarkable technology. It's beyond me. I'm a dum-dum. I'm an idiot. I don't know how to make this phone. But practically speaking, it's just functional. So, well, I'll just conclude by saying that one time when I was overseas in one of these countries, I had a phone which we would regard as very cheap, probably only $20 or $30 or less even, I don't know. And I was very angry at this time for, it doesn't matter why. I was just in a situation where I was fuming, furious. And I was in a room, my bedroom at the time where I was staying, and I threw this phone at the wall, like a cement wall, or like directly in front of me, like literally like 2 feet, 3 feet from me. I hurled this phone And it wasn't like an iPhone. It was like a smaller, older version phone. Because this would have been about, oh my goodness, like 8 years ago or maybe 7 years ago. I don't know. A simple phone, but still a phone nonetheless. I hurled it with full velocity at the wall, and the thing like completely shattered. Completely. Like there were the pieces that it was in were so small that there was nothing like, and it went flying. So there was like, I couldn't even barely recognize any of the plastic frame or any of the circuitry. And I don't recommend you do this. And it's not good that I lost my cool. It's not good to lose your temper like that, especially. But sometimes we do have to vent. I'm not saying that was the right thing to do. But that phone, I mean, I'm just concluding with that story because I could still make the conscious decision like, I'm gonna get a vent in this. What object are you willing to do away with? And in that case, it was a phone because you have to take these phones with a grain of salt. Maybe you might just hurl it at the wall. I'm not saying that's the good thing to do. You could get hurt by something going in your eye or something, but that industrial manufacture will be pulverized into granules so tiny you will just maybe sweep up some dust, and there'll be little silicate pulverized foam in the sweepings. Hasta luego, amigos.